a talk from he's the master of prompts, and I call him Mr. Terminal. And Mr. Terminal has traveled from New York just for 30 minutes talk, more than 30 years. And he has come here for the first time on the stage of Laracon India. So please welcome Mr. Terminal, full of stage, on stage, Joe Tannenbaum!
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Hey everybody. Hey, how we doing? We having fun? Are we having fun? There we go. There we go. We ready to talk about some terminal stuff? Okay, a little bit. Okay, hey, I'm Joe Tannenbaum, and I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I work on the web team at Digital Extremes. We're a gaming company. Most notably, we make a game called Warframe. It's played by millions of gamers every month. I live in New York City. I've lived there for 17 years. I worked as a freelance solo software developer for a long time. And I wanted to meet other PHP devs in my area, so I started PHP NYC. We just had our first meetup last month. It was dope, and I really can't wait to do it again. So that went well. And if you want to connect, I'm Joe Tannenbaum pretty much everywhere online, so that makes it really easy. I'd love to hear from you. If you know anything about me at all, it's because I've been doing this for like 8 months on Twitter. And so, yeah, that's what we're here to talk about today. We are here to talk about text-based user interfaces, or TUIs. And more specifically, we're going to talk about building TUIs with Laravel prompts. Shout out, are you familiar with Laravel prompts? Do y'all work with Laravel prompts? Yeah, it's dope, right? It's awesome. All right, so if you're not familiar with Laravel prompts, it's a first-class Laravel package built by Jess Archer, the amazing Jess Archer. Yeah, all right. It basically provides beautiful form inputs and interactive elements for your command line applications. Cool. So more importantly than that, we are going to have some fun. Because this is not how we conventionally build apps. We're used to building out APIs or rendering views to the browser. And this is going to work our brain a little bit differently. So let's all jump in the sandbox. Let's play around a little bit. And let's just see what comes out the other side. OK? So why am I here? Why am I standing on this stage? It all started with a PR to prompts. I wanted to add a table renderer. So prompts didn't have a table renderer that matched the styling of the existing prompts elements, and I wanted to add one. That forced me to look into the guts of prompts, see how it was working, see what the rendering mechanism was, and I liked what I saw. It was awesome. It was really beautiful. And I thought, well, there's some potential here. Can we push this a little further? Can we do something else with it? So I took that static table renderer in the terminal, and I made it a data table. And I said, OK, well, why don't we paginate it and search through it and jump to different pages. And then ultimately, you could select a record and get that value back. And that was cool. It actually didn't take that long because it's really done so beautifully. So I did a couple more experiments, and we got to a retro iPod interface that hooked up to my Spotify. And when you select a song, it actually plays that in my Spotify application. Weird, we're getting weirder, a little strange, but OK, we're just having some fun here. Finally, we get to live two-player Pong in your terminal. So you can open up your terminal, your friend can open up their terminal somewhere else, and you can play each other over the internet in your terminal. Cool. Not useful, but super cool. So today we're going to build a TUI. We're going to build an application. And we're not going to build anything quite as complex as that because we don't have time to. But we are going to build something that gives you the confidence to dive in and start experimenting and start playing with this yourself. Now, it probably should be noted that we are not using prompts for its actual intended purpose. We're kind of stretching it beyond the bounds a little bit. But it's super cool that it supports doing this sort of thing. So first, we're going to cover a couple of fundamentals about text-based user interfaces. Text-based user interfaces are exactly what they say they are on the tin. They're text-based user interfaces, meaning we're building out user interfaces by concatenating strings and printing them out line by line to the terminal. Okay, so what are the implications of that? Well, the main implication is that you get nothing for free. If there's a pixel on the screen or an interaction that you want to handle, you have to do that yourself. And we're going to be talking about this you get nothing for free a lot. So when I say you get, can I get nothing for free? You get. One more time, you get. Beautiful, love it. Okay, so we're used to getting actually a lot for free. When we render things to the browser, we get a lot out of the gate. Let's say you want to collect input from a user. You do this. We've done this 100 times. We do this 1,000 times a day. And just by putting that tag in the page, you get a little default styling that indicates, OK, this is an input, and we can type into it. You get some nice focus behavior on the input. You get some sensible cursor behavior. So as you type, the cursor follows the characters that you're typing, and then you can navigate them with your arrow keys. And then you also get some blur behavior. So just by putting that tag in the page, you get all of that for free from the browser. We're familiar with this. When you do this in the terminal, you don't get any of that. You have to draw that out using characters every time, line by line, frame by frame. The only reason that prompts looks and feels and acts like something that we're familiar with is because it was crafted that way. There's no real cursor here. This is not a cursor. It's just a styled string. And we're tracking the cursor position as the user interacts with it. So this is just to keep in mind, because you get... Y'all are awesome. Thank you. OK. Before we start coding, last but not least, you're going to see this come up a lot. Chewy is a little package that I created because I made 1,000 of these little terminal experiments, and I needed a little glue between prompts and the things I was building to reduce some boilerplate and add some helpers. So when you hear me talk about Chewy, which sounds a lot like Chewy, well, when you hear me talk about Chewy, that's what I'm referring to. All right, should we code? Should we get some code going? Let's build something. Great, you're done. Let's go, boop. Awesome. So how this is going to work is we're going to build 2 little mini apps just to understand how prompts works, and then we're going to build an actual app so you can see how it all actually comes together. OK, so let me grab some water. All right, every prompts app has 2 classes that you need to include. The first is the application class. It extends the base prompt class, and it has one required method, which is the value method. This is the value that is ultimately selected by the user. We're not going to use that, so we're just going to return null. Fine. The next one over is the renderer class. And so this extends the base prompt renderer. It's an invocable class. It receives an instance of our application class, and it returns a string. Cool. Now, if you're looking at this, you might understand a pattern already. UI is a function of state. It's very React if you've ever dealt with React. You're receiving an instance of the application state, and you are rendering the entire state as a string and returning it. So that's easy to understand. The last thing here is just a simple runner class, runner script, and it's just newing up the application class and firing the prompt method. We can say goodbye to this. We're never going to use it again. I just wanted to show you what it was. So here we go. The first thing we need to do is we need to tell prompts that for our application class, we want to use our renderer class. So we can do that by registering a renderer. And we have a little helper from Chewy, that package that I mentioned, that helps us do that. So we're saying when you new up this class, register our demo renderer as the class we want to use to render our application. OK, so let's just see what happens here. We're going to do PHP scripts demo, not composer. That's wild. And nothing happens. And that's right. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. Nothing. Because we haven't told it to do anything yet. But actually, a lot's happening. So prompts has already set up the entire world for us just by firing that prompt method. So if you notice, the cursor is gone. We don't have a cursor anymore. It's been hidden by prompts. If I type here, nothing happens. It's disabling default input rendering, and it's disabling echoing out to the terminal. So it's really setting up an entire world for us and allowing us to play in that space. So let's make a little app. We're going to make a little counter app, because why not? We're going to make a little counter prop. And so that's going to default to 0. And then we are going to short circuit prompts so we don't set up that entire world, so we can see how it's actually rendering things to the terminal. So we're going to do an infinite loop. We're going to use the internal render method to render our output out to the terminal. We're going to sleep for 1 second, and then we're going to increase the counter by 1. OK. So what's next? We need to actually render this to the terminal using the renderer. So we need to do this line string prompt counter. Whoop, that's a semicolon. OK, cool. So we're just going to render that as a string out to this terminal. Let's see what happens here. OK, cool. So what's happening here? You'll notice that it's overwriting itself. So that's interesting. We don't know if that was expected or not, but it's overwriting itself. And you can see the cursor blinking. So what is prompts doing here? Well, every time we render, prompts moves the cursor to the beginning of our initial output, erases down, and writes our new output. OK, so it moves the cursor up, it erases down, and it writes our new output. Lock that away. That's important. OK, cool. So it's fun to do it automatically, but let's do this on a key press. Let's handle some interactivity. OK, so instead of doing this while loop, let's actually do this in response to a key press. So this is a little thing from Chewy, yet again, key press listener. And let's talk about what this is doing. It's registering a key press listener for this application class. On space, we are going to increase the counter by 1, and we're going to start listening for key presses. And this is going to allow prompts to actually set up the world for us. Okay, so we'll see the expected behavior from prompts. Okay, so if I do nothing, nothing happens. What prompts is just sitting here waiting for us to press something or waiting for input. So if I press space, and if I press it a bunch, it goes up. So we just made our first interactive TUI. This is a TUI. It's very simple, but it is a TUI. So that's pretty cool. Let's notch it up a little bit. Instead of a counter, let's make it so that everything we're typing to the terminal actually shows up. And that sounds trivial, but it proves the point that we are in full control over the output to the terminal. So we're just going to have a little message that defaults to a blank string. And we're going to say on key press, on any key press, append that key press to the message. Okay? So we're going to do a little wildcard listener. And we're going to get the key that was pressed as an argument. And we're going to append it to our message property. Okay? Well, let's do that in our renderer too. So we're actually outputting the message instead of the counter. And let's see what happens. OK, so nothing's happening yet. If I say hello, and I press some keys, it's outputting to the terminal. But you'll notice that I messed up. So let me just hit the delete key, and the delete key's not working because you get. Thank you so much. Y'all are amazing. OK, so we need to handle the delete key. So we don't get that out of the gate. We got to handle that ourselves. So we're going to say on delete. If they press backspace, set the message equal to a substring of the message minus the last character. OK, while we're here, let's just give them a way to clear the message. We'll say on enter, just set the message back to a blank string. Cool. Let's see how that looks. We haven't changed anything about the renderer. We'll just see how that looks in the terminal. Hello. And if I press backspace, great. And if I press enter, it clears. So that's a little bit more of a complex terminal application. And just to show you, you have full control over the situation. If you wanted to print this 3 times instead of 1 time, and then erase 3 characters instead of erasing only 1, that works too. So every time I press a key, it's printing out 3 times because you're telling it to do that. So you have full control of the output of this application. OK, I'm going to show you a gotcha, and it's going to be a gotcha that you fall into a lot when building these out. We're going to reduce the window size a little bit. And we are going to run our application as it is. Now, we're going to type a lot, and you're going to see what happens. And I have a little script here that does type a lot. OK, so we're typing. Whoa, hot tamale, what's going on over here? OK, so this is not great. This looks a little jumbled. What's happening? Well, the terminal's trying to help us, because the terminal is our buddy. Terminal's our friend, right? And they're saying, hey, looks like you typed too many characters. I got you. Let me auto-wrap that down for you, and I'll just create a new line. But as soon as it does that, we don't know how many lines we've printed to the terminal. So prompts moves it back up to where it thinks it should have been and tries to erase down. And it's starting at the wrong place because it doesn't realize that the terminal has auto-wrapped for us. So we need to be aware of how wide the terminal is and how tall the terminal is. And we can only print to exactly the width and the height available to us. Make sense? Cool. Let's fix this. This is easy to fix. We can totally do this. So first thing we need the width, and we need the height. And prompts is helping us out here a lot. There's a little helper method called terminal on our application class. It reports back the number of columns in the terminal. And you can, I always put a little buffer on it because if you go all the way to the end, it still tends to get a little jumbled. So I try to, put a little buffer on it. And same with the height. Terminal lines -4 for buffer. Okay. So we want to print our message, but we want to wrap the words. Well, PHP comes with word wrap. Let's just use that. So we're going to set our message equal to word wrap, the message from the application, to the width that we have available to us, and we're going to cut any long words. So if we type a really long word to the terminal, wrap it around instead of trying to drop it down. Cool. So we just handled the width. That handles the width. Let's handle the height. I like to use slice for this. I like to create a collection of the lines based on the end of line. I slice off the last x equal to the terminal height, and then we're going to print out those lines. And the first class callable syntax is just, I love it. I use it all the time. It's amazing. OK, let's see if this fixed our situation. I should probably type something. That would be good. OK, hopefully this works. Good. So now we are constraining our output to the width and the height of the terminal. And this is something you're going to run into a lot if you build these out. You're going to mismeasure a string or something like that, and it's going to get really jumbled really fast. So you'll know that somewhere along the line you weren't constraining to the width and the height. OK, cool. Let's build an actual app now. How about that? Enough with this. We don't need any of this anymore. Goodbye. And we don't need this. And we don't need this. OK. We're going to build a little app for the conference. We're going to do a little speaker directory. And all it's going to be is there's going to be a left-hand column of speakers. And as you select those speakers, details will appear about them on the right-hand side. So their name, their title, their Twitter, and their bio. OK? So left-hand column of speakers, right-hand column of details as you select them. So I have some speakers already lined up here so that we don't have to type all this out. We're going to have a speaker property that's a collection. We should probably import collection. That seems important. And then we're going to load up the speakers, which is just going to be loading them from a JSON file. Cool. So we have speakers loaded up. Let's just output them to the terminal and make sure everything looks OK. So we're going to say speaker var, and we're going to do a little method here called speaker lines. And we're going to output them. So all we're doing here is we are saying get the speaker lines, and the speaker lines are just plucking the name off of the collection. So it's just going to be a list of names. And we're going to return that for right now. And we're going to say speakers, or actually, I think, there we go. We're just going to print that out to the terminal. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. Looks good. We have speakers. That looks right. It's not very exciting, but we do have it. Let's make it a little more exciting. The original intent of this was you want to use the up and down arrow keys to select a speaker. So let's handle that. So it sounds like to me we have some application state we have to handle. We need to know which speaker is actually selected. So we're going to do a little application state here and do selected speaker. And we're going to select it. We're going to track it by the index that's selected. We're then going to listen to the up and down arrow keys. So on down. We're going to set the selected speaker equal to the selected speaker plus 1 up until the number of speakers that we actually have available to us. OK? And on up, we are going to set the selected speaker equal to selected speaker minus 1 down to 0. So we're constraining the selected speaker between these two values so we don't go past the values. OK. So this would work. If we ran this right now, it would work. But we'd have no indication that we were actually selecting any speakers. So we should actually show them that a speaker is selected. So if we come down to our speaker lines, we can make that happen pretty easily. We can loop through our speaker names. If we can say if the selected speaker is equal to the index of that speaker, BG green and bold. And these are little helper functions in the renderer from prompts that we do get for free, but it's because Jess has put some nice work into it. Otherwise, return the name. So this should show us some visual indicator of our selected speaker. So let's run this again. Looks good already. This is OK. Let's press the down arrow. OK. We're selecting speakers. Not bad. That's cool. But, oh yeah, I'll take applause. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? Okay. We're cooking. We're cooking here. This is good, but I think it could look better. I think it could look better because it's a little annoying to me that the green changes size every time it moves, and it's a little tight. So we can just, you know, add some CSS and make it, no, we can, because we get amazing. I love you guys. OK, so what do we want to do? We want to make it the same width no matter which speaker is selected. So what do we need to do? We need to find the longest speaker. OK, so we have to find the longest speaker name. So we're going to map the speaker names to the MB string width of the name. We're going to get the max one, and we're going to add 2. We're going to add 2 because we're going to put a little 1 space on each side of the speaker name to give it a little padding. And before we style it, we're going to MB string pad the name out with 2 spaces on either side. And so we're basically creating a bunch of spaces and anything shorter than the longest name. And then we're going to style it after that. So let's see what happens there. OK, already to me, this looks better because there's a little bit of padding on either side. And if we go down, nice. OK, that looks better to me. So now we've got this cooking, which is cool. But the original intent was when they're selected, we want to show some details about them, right? So let's show some details about them. This is a little more complex, but I have faith in us. I think we can do it. So we have a detail var, and then we're going to say detail lines. And let's talk about this. OK, so we're going to get the current speaker by the selected speaker index. We're going to word wrap their bio. We already talked about that. We don't want to. We want to overflow their bio by the height, by the width of the terminal. But we've got some squiggly lines here. So right, so something's wrong. We know the width. We've calculated that already. It's just not a prop yet. So we're going to set up some props here. We're going to say the width prop, and we're going to do the height prop, and we're going to do the, what was the other one we're missing? Left column width. Cool. So we're setting up some properties. We need to set these to their properties so we have them everywhere. And so what about this left column width prop? We actually know how wide the left column is because that's the width of the longest speaker. So we can actually just set left column width equal to longest. OK. So we're saying, OK, the whole width minus the left-hand column is the amount of space we have for the bio. Dope. Then we're going to return some more lines. We're going to return their name, and it's going to be bold, their title, and it's going to be dim. And then we're going to make the Twitter link actually look like a link by making it cyan and underline. And then we're going to concat their bio lines on top of all of that. So this is a little hard to envision. I understand that. So let's just dump this for a second so you can see what's actually happening here. Wow, whoa, 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 easy now. Boink, OK. Let's do it. So we're going to dump this. So we have we have an array of speakers, and then we have an array of lines for the detail. OK, so you can see one line that we want to print for each one. So how do we get the left-hand column and the right-hand column? Because if we printed this out right now, it would be top and bottom. So what you would do is you would take the 0 index of the first one and concat it to the 0 index of the second one, and then the 1 index and the 1 index, and the 2 index and the 2 index, and eventually you get lines that you can print across as one. And the collection class actually has a great method for this. It's called zip, and I use it all the time in Chewy under the hood. But there's a little more complexity around actually doing this for printing to the terminal. So I have a little helper in Chewy. It's called the lines helper. And we're going to bring that in. That's not it. Call lines. And we're going to say boop, boop. Lines from columns, and these are our 2 columns, the speakers and the detail. Get the resulting lines and print it out. Let's see what that does for us. Clear it. OK. Oh, OK. All right. We've got a little bit of an app here, and it's looking OK. Yeah, hey. OK, very cool. One thing I don't like, it's a little tight. It doesn't look good. There's no spacing between these 2 things, but we can rectify that super easily. We can actually say spacing. We're going to put 4 spaces between the left and the right-hand column. And we can just add that here to our lines helper. We can say spacing, this, column spacing. And so that's going to put 4 spaces before it concatenates between the 2 columns. But somebody else needs to know about this spacing, right? So we've already calculated a width for something else, and I think that's our detail column, right? So we need to add that here so it doesn't overflow the terminal. And this is why I snippeted everything, because I am not good at typing. OK, here we go. Now we're doing it. Now it looks good. That's much better. OK, cool. We're going to do a couple more things to make this look a little more like an actual app. Right now, we're printing everything to the actual main terminal, right? So if you scroll up when you're playing with the app, you can actually see everything around it. We can make this a more immersive experience by printing it to the alternate screen. And we can do that pretty easily with Chewy. We're going to bring in the use creates alt screen. That's not it. OK, and then we're going to create an alt screen on the constructor. OK, cool. Let's see what that does. Awesome. So you can see now it's a full screen app. And not only do the up and down arrows work, but actually if I scroll with my fingers, that triggers the up and down arrows as well. So you've got a more immersive thing that feels like an actual app in front of you. Yeah, I'll take all. Yeah, let's do it. It's pretty cool, right? Cool. OK, let's do one or two more things that are going to beef this up a little bit. We should tell the user what they can actually do with the app, right? So what keys can they press to interact with the app? And we're going to bring in two traits here, the aligns trait and the uses, draws, hotkeys. And we're going to show them their hotkeys, OK? So we're going to say pin this content to the bottom based on the height. So whatever this callback renders, pin it to the bottom so that no matter how much content is above it, the bio length or whatever, it won't jump around at the bottom. Put a new line. Show them that they can use the up and down keys to select a speaker, center it horizontally, and then print it out. OK, let's see what that does for us. Cool. And all it did is just put this little thing down at the bottom. It says, hey, select a speaker. And as we move around, it doesn't jump around. It stays in place because we're asking it to pin it to the bottom. OK, we're almost there. We're on our local system. We're not on a server, right? So we're on our own computer. We can do things that our computer can actually do. So I say when we're viewing somebody's detail, if we press T, let's open their Twitter. Do I have Wi-Fi? Yeah, we'll see. OK. And so we're going to say on T, exec, open the selected speaker's Twitter, because that's already a URL. OK? Let's tell the user that they can do that by adding another hotkey. And then let's see what that gives us. OK, so we have our second hotkey there. We have a select a speaker. We have open Twitter profile. And let's just go down to Jess, for example. We press T, and it opens her Twitter. If we go down to Joe, we press T, opens Twitter. These are the sorts of things you can do on a local system as opposed to a server. It's pretty neat. And you can take this so much further. I made a fuller featured version of this a little bit that has some other features to it. You can select independently, so you can browse independently of select. So if you were doing this and you wanted to view Joe, there's different focus states, so you can press the left and right-hand arrows to focus different parts of the screen, and the hotkeys change there based on the actions that you can take. If somebody has a long bio, you can just scroll it right there in the terminal. And this is something that Prompts provides, and it's amazing because it's a very hard problem to solve. And they just provide this for you out of the gate. You can scroll it. You can also take this way further. Let's say you wanted to go on a run, and you wanted to time your laps. Because we all run with our laptops with the terminals open, obviously, right? You can just time your laps. You can press space every time you hit a lap. This one's a little bit faster, and that's cool. Let's say you wanted to get organized, right? You can build a Kanban board in the terminal. And you can say, OK, well, I learned Go. I'm in the process of eating a pizza, and I'm done waiting patiently. You can rebuild the dashboard of a 1984 Nissan. I don't know why you would, but you totally could. And you could start the engine. And you can rev it. And you can wait for it to sort of like cool down a little bit, right? That's cool. You can turn the engine off. And if you get invited to like fly across the world and stand on stage and talk at an amazing conference about TUIs for 30 minutes, you could just end your talk like this. Thank you so much, Laracon India. I appreciate it.
Now everyone knows why you are Mr. Terminal.
What's that?
Now you know why you are Mr. Terminal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
How was it coming to India for the first time?
Oh, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. A lot of good food. People are great. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
So
Yeah, yeah.
before I look for the questions, I think you are also running Laravel meetups in New York, right?
Yeah, just started that.
So can you
Just
share
started
more
that.
about the meetups, how you do it, what you plan to everyone, just for an idea?
Yeah, yeah. We just had our first meetup. It went super well. We had two great talks. They're on YouTube. You can look up PHP NYC, and they gave two great talks. It was amazing. We're doing our next one in April or May, end of April, May. And if you're ever in New York, hit me up. I would love, please, we'd love to like have you there. It would be awesome.
Not just
So-
for the meetup, but for beers. And there are so cool rooftops in New York as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anyone, if you are in New York, you know whom to contact.
You have me in New York. Come and say hi.
Yeah. So I have several questions, but
Okay.
like I'll ask some of the questions where almost similar type of questions they are.
Okay.
So may I come closer so that you can read it?
Yeah.
One of the most creative build I have ever seen in terminal, which is out of the box. What other things we can build with TUIs?
Yeah.
And can we create a secure terminal? So this is related to that one that people are asking that what are the use cases?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's lots of use cases. I mean, prompts itself is a TUI. It's just a little, it's a little TUI, but it's a TUI. And I think, yeah, the use cases are, I mean, my use case was fun. I just wanted to build this stuff for fun. But the use cases are, I mean, I built a chat. You can totally do it. You can build a secure chat in the terminal. So I think making your terminal experiences more delightful, more usable, is it just a good use case. You know, terminal can be a little boring until you make it more fun.
Yeah, true. And second question, which is also asked by a couple of people, that what tools or extension are you using in your editor?
On my code editor?
Yeah, maybe because.
It's because I snippeted everything because I didn't want to type on stage. I think that's probably what they're asking. So I used a lot of code snippets that I set up ahead of time. If that's what you're asking. If that's not what you're asking, come up and ask me, and I'm happy to clarify that.
Perfect, Joe.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Thank you
being
so
with
much.
us.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We can come together.
Yeah.